What's the most unprofessional thing a doctor's office ever did? My 5-year-old son was screaming in pain from what looked like appendicitis, but the receptionist told us to wait because we were 10 minutes late to our appointment. Ma'am, my son can barely stand, I said, showing her how he was doubled over. She didn't even look up from her computer. Policy is policy. Late patients wait. I explained we hit unexpected traffic from a car accident, but she just shrugged and pointed to the waiting room. Other families were staring as my boy collapsed into a chair, clutching his stomach and crying. 20 minutes passed. I approached her desk again, my son now pale and sweating. Please, something's really wrong with him, I begged. Sir, your son needs to learn patience, she said coldly. The doctor will see you when it's your turn. I asked if we could at least speak to a nurse to check his temperature. The nurse is busy with on-time patients, she replied, not even glancing at my suffering child. An hour went by. My son vomited into the waiting room trash can, and other patients started offering help. One mother whispered, I can't believe they're making you wait. I marched back to the desk. My son just threw up. Can we please move this along? The receptionist sighed dramatically. Children get sick. That's why you're here. She handed me paper towels like that solved everything. My son was now lying across 2 chairs, barely conscious. A grandfather in the waiting room stood up and said, This is ridiculous. That child needs help now. The receptionist shot him a look. Sir, please don't intervene with office practices. I pulled out my phone to call 911, but she quickly said, You can't make emergency calls in here. It disrupts other patients. That's when I lost it. Are you seriously telling me I can't call for help? Hospital policy, she said, pointing to a tiny sign. One dad offered to drive us to the ER himself. My son's lips were turning pale, and he'd stopped crying because he was too weak. I finally stood up and took my son to the ER. We rushed to the ER, my son barely responsive in his car seat. The triage nurse took one look at him and called for immediate assistance. Within minutes, doctors were surrounding him, running tests and starting an IV. How long has he been in this condition? The emergency doctor asked. About 4 hours, I said. His pediatrician's office made us wait. The doctor's face darkened. 4 hours? With these symptoms? 20 minutes later, they were wheeling him into emergency surgery. The surgeon came out afterwards looking grim. His appendix was minutes from bursting. The infection was already spreading. My heart stopped. What would have happened if we waited longer? Sepsis. Possibly fatal, he said quietly. You got here just in time. I spent that night in the hospital chair, watching my son sleep with tubes and monitors attached. The next morning, armed with surgical photos, hospital reports, and a lawyer's business card, I walked back into that doctor's office. The same receptionist was at her desk, looking surprised to see me. Oh, you're back. Did you want to reschedule your missed appointment? I placed the hospital discharge papers on her desk. I have a question. When exactly did you get your medical degree? Her smile faded as she read the emergency surgery report. Sir, I was just following protocol. Your protocol almost ended my son, I said, pulling out the surgical photos. These are pictures of his infected appendix that nearly burst while you made him wait 3 hours. The office manager came running out, having heard the commotion. Sir, please, let's discuss this privately. No, I said loudly. Everyone here should know what happens when you follow the late policy too strictly. The office manager was practically begging now. We'll review our policies immediately. This won't happen again. You're right, it won't, I said, because I'm reporting this to the medical board or insurance company and every parent review site I can find. The receptionist finally spoke up, her voice shaking. I didn't know it was that serious. That's exactly the problem, I replied. You're not qualified to make that determination. 2 weeks later, they called to tell me they'd implemented a medical emergency override system and retrained all front desk staff. The receptionist had been transferred to their billing department, where she couldn't make life-threatening decisions anymore.